Welcome back to the History of Rock. His name is Brandon. He is the DJ.
His name is Shim. He is the rock star. We just wrapped up the previous episode, although right before we were recording this, Shim and I were talking about Limp Bizkit performing in 2022 and 2021. And we're going to do this whole episode as we wrap up Lollapalooza NPR style. How does that sound? Does NPR even mean? If I say NPR, does that mean anything to you?
Nope.
Okay.
Don't know what that
Being
means.
Australian, I figured it's so here in the States, it's National Public Radio.
Yeah.
So it's just
I hear My Chemical Romance. That's what I hear.
Oh no, not even close. So, no, Mike. NPR is like liberal news, essentially, is what it is.
Right.
So, anyway, so we're talking about Lollapalooza, and no, honest to God, we were just talking like Limp Bizkit and watching some footage of Limp Bizkit. Yeah, I'm telling you, man, dude, Shim does just a fantastic.
Get the fuck up! Yeah.
To get your groove on.
Groove on.
All right, so we're going to talk in Lollapalooza here. We got to jump back into this thing because we still got a lot of things to cover. We left off in 1994. We're getting to 1995, and we're actually going to start because the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to wrap up this episode talking about that Simpsons episode, Homerpalooza. But before we do that, make sure if you guys are here on YouTube, you can either be on Shim's channel or my channel. It doesn't matter. Just make sure you're clicking like down below, please. Please, please, please. We would very much appreciate that because that helps us with the algorithm, and then more people will get the podcast kind of tossed in their face there on YouTube. If you're here on Spotify, Apple, or Google, thank you for tuning in. We lost Shim. Where did he go? What's happening here?
I'm here.
Oh, he's just walking. Your computer's making noises there, homie.
Yeah, I know. I just realized I got to do a couple things. I got to close the door properly.
Oh yeah, we started like I was like, "You ready to go?" He's like, "No, but we might as well." So it might be a little rough here in the beginning because
it's all good. It's fine. It's done. It would have gone on without incident if it wasn't for that fucking ping and if you had just kept rolling. Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice. So yeah, so please make sure that you guys are liking, subscribing. You can Shim's YouTube channel is at Shim More. You can find at Shimon More, I believe, is what it is on YouTube. And then you can find me at The Real Brandalorian over on YouTube as well. And yeah, so make sure you guys are clicking like down below. If you're here on Spotify, Apple, or Google, go to our YouTube channels and like it, please. And then if you're just doing stuff and you don't even need to be in front of your computer, just let the episode run in the background. Give us the view. It'd be great. It'd be great. Oh, also, really quick. Before, so you're going to pick it up where by 1995, Farrell had started because that's where we're picking it up. But I do got to remind you, we got the Brandalorian stickers, we have the History of Rock stickers, and then we also have the, oops, that's the same sticker that I just grabbed, the cross-eyed bear, the cross-eyed bear. And those are available at VivaLaMocha.com.
On T-shirts as well.
T-shirts as well. I'm hoping by the time this episode drops, they're up because we're planning way ahead. Like we recorded this episode a long time ago. When you're finally tuning into this episode, we recorded it ages ago. But anyway, go ahead. So Shim, kick us off on Lollapalooza.
By 1995, Farrell had started to focus his attentions on a Lollapalooza after party, the Enid Festival, which was a touring electronic music festival. It was short-lived, though, as it was poorly structured, and with a combination of high production costs and lack of fan base, it called it quits in 1996. Oh, yeah, only stick to your lane.
Stuck around for a couple of years there. And then in 1996, Lollapalooza had Metallica as their headliner. And this, so as we had mentioned previously with the first year, that was kind of like obviously the quintessential Lollapalooza because it was before alternative was mainstream and they weren't selling millions of records and all the stuff that we'd already talked about. But 96, this seems to be the year that was kind of like the tipping point in regards to Lollapalooza because they ended up reaching out to Metallica. They were the headliner for that year, and this caused a massive issue with a lot of people, including the fans, who saw this as a break from the original plans of the non-mainstream artists, man. Unfortunately, when you have a festival like this, you have to have some mainstream artists because you have to be able to fund it. You have to be able to draw the same amount of people. So the crowds attracted by Metallica... Now, this is so goddamn funny. Because the crowds attracted by Metallica were described as being singularly focused on the headliner without respect for the other performing artists.
No way. Metallica fans... Get out of town!
And for anyone that tuned into the Rockstar 101 episode where we were talking about my experience with Metallica, getting to go backstage with Jim Breuer and he hooked everything up, that was a reason that Jim Breuer was the opener for Metallica because it was to the point where no matter who they threw out there, I mean, there were times like Volbeat or just, you know, some pretty, like, really good rock bands.
Yeah.
The Metallica fans don't give a shit. They want Metallica, and that's all they fucking want.
But isn't that a great place to be? Like, imagine, it's really funny if you're like, look, hey guys, we're Metallica. Thank you so much for the love. We're going to put on 2 other bands that basically sound like diet versions of us because they've been listening to. Nah, just cut it. Just cut them. Stop wasting our fucking time. No, we didn't pay for diet. We paid for classic. Classic Coke, classic Metallica. Go to Shimon.
You need no. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. You need to really lean into the Australian accent when you do that. Like, you really got to be like, ah, fucking mate. Yeah, fuck yeah.
We don't want some band that's reasonably good. We want Metallica. We didn't pay for this shit.
I fucking love when you do the reasonably good thing. It's still one of my favorite clips of when we were gaming where I was like, well, we were saying, what did you comment on?
I don't remember.
How would you say this? And Shim goes, I would say that was reasonably good. Yeah. That's it. It's fucking well timed. All right, go to the next one here.
Where are we going tonight? Oh, back to that. The festival. Here we go. The festival, Lollapalooza, responded to the issues of booking Metallica by booking a variety of acts like country star Waylon Jennings in 1996, and then emphasized electronica groups in 97 with The Orb and The Prodigy. Interesting. So instead of dealing with the issue, they made it worse.
Kind of sounds like it a little bit, and then obviously we'll get to that. And we'll get to that here in a bit, like not even in a bit, in just a few lines here, because 97 was really the last year that Lollapalooza as we knew it really occurred. And this is, again, like I've mentioned so many times in these episodes about Lollapalooza, it really reflected everything that was going on kind of in the 90s, obviously music-based as well, because it starts with grunge. Grunge really kind of died off with Kurt Cobain. I hate saying, died off, but like it went away when he passed away. And then I remember like EDM and electronica started to kind of be bigger towards the late 90s. I remember early 2000s, it was even bigger. Like raves were the big thing. I remember seeing MTV episodes, or like they would do these like specials on raves and ecstasy, the drug.
Yeah, ecstasy. That was the ecstasy renaissance.
Yeah, and they would always do these specials on, this is what you need to be looking for, and here are the dangers, and this and this. And I remember seeing that stuff in like 96, 97. And then I remember like 6 years later, 2002, and my friends were telling me, yeah, we're going to go to a rave. I was like, those still fucking exist? Like, I had no idea that had that lasting power. And then even fast forward like another 10 years, raves still happen, because if you give people drugs, they're going to love it. Like, I'm sorry, that's just the way that it goes.
Raves will be around for as long as ecstasy's around, and hip-hop will be around for as long as weed's around. They're not going away. And rock will be around for as long as they keep making whiskey and beer.
Yeah. No.
And country will never fucking die as much as we want it to.
Well, I mean, I think country's always going to be around, because as long as somebody's dog dies and their truck broke down and their wife left them, so they got to listen to something,
some guy with a
right?
6-string singing about the blue.
Goddamn right. All right, so interestingly enough, and this is why I found it odd, because they had chosen Metallica to headline in 96. I'm assuming this timeline here that Sharon Osbourne reached out to Lollapalooza about performing in 95, because that created Ozfest. She was essentially told by Lollapalooza, he's not really what we're looking for when it comes to Lollapalooza. That's not the kind of acts that we want. So in 96, they started Ozfest. And that's why I found this weird, because Metallica headlined in 96. So I'm assuming Sharon had to have spoken to them in 95, because they'd already planned Ozfest for 96. That was the first year that they did it. And it didn't start out as a tour either. So it was the role reversal with Lollapalooza, where Lollapalooza started as a tour, went to a weekend thing. Ozfest was the opposite. And it was just a couple of dates, October 25th and 26th. One was in Phoenix. The other was in Devore, California. And yes, don't worry, we're going to probably do 3 episodes on Ozfest, because Ozfest was fucking amazing, man. Loved Ozfest. Loved Ozfest.
By 1998, the tour couldn't find a suitable headliner, and the cancellation was announced. Spin magazine wrote about the festival's troubles that year. Lollapalooza is as comatose as alternative rock right now. Ooh, well, the tide rises and sinks all ships. Yeah.
And it was interesting because as I was doing the research for this and watching a lot of videos, it talked about how Lollapalooza early on, it was bands that not a lot. I mean, shit, look at the side stage that we were talking about, where you had Rage Against the Machine and Tool, and they ended up getting so many people coming to them that they had to put them over on the main stage. They became the openers on the main stage, and looking back, it seems like they had the advantage of being able to book some of those acts for not a lot of money. Yeah. But that's the way that it works when it was alternative was still, I don't want to say young, but alternative going mainstream was young. Like that. When
it was the alternative to mainstream music.
So I'm thinking like of the timeline of when it became mainstream. It's at the very beginning of that timeline, of that part of it. And so they were able to book a lot of different acts for a lot cheaper. But once they really start to make it bigger, I mean, although we did find out that they offered up $10 million to Nirvana to headline in '94, which obviously didn't happen. I can imagine Metallica had to have been paid a massive amount of money. There's no way Metallica does Lollapalooza for anything less than $10 million. Don't you think?
Yeah, no, I would be certain. Like Metallica, I realized recently, Metallica is one of the bands that can never not headline. Like Kiss can never not. Rolling Stones, Kiss, Metallica. Like there's some bands that like they can never open for anyone else ever again, and Metallica's at the point now where they cannot even have anyone open for them.
Yeah, that's like that. Those are the pinnacles. It's to the point where you can never open for anybody else, and then there's this rare tier up here where it's like you can't even have anody open for you because everybody only gives a fuck about you.
Yeah. I mean, I remember hearing stories about bands would go on tour with Kiss and the Rolling Stones. Literally, the catchphrase was, "Why did you take that tour?" Everyone knows that Kiss and the Rolling Stones don't pay you. They literally don't pay you because they know full well we don't fucking need you. But they just have an opener because it's a rock and roll show. So you're going out for no money, and they tell you can have half an hour and you're only allowed to use this tiny part of the stage. They say the rest is for Mick Jagger or the rest is for Kiss. So they've got this so you look like an ant on this stage and you're a joke. Even if you're a great band, you're a joke. And everyone says the same thing. Well, you got to get the laminate, right? Got to be able to say you open for the Rolling Stones. I'm like, you do it all for a piece. I'll make you one. I'll print you one. Save yourself.
Shit. Dude, that's some merchandise we need to work on. We should do History of Rock podcast laminates.
Laminates, that's a good idea, actually. I like that.
All right, somebody remind me of that because I frequently say things on this podcast that I forget. Like, I think I was looking at my note sheet here, and I just randomly wrote tit implant from when we were recording Jane's Addiction, and I think that was when we were talking about Mia Khalifa, the porn star, where she took a hockey puck and it actually popped her tit implant.
Jesus, okay.
I think again, I never looked it up because I never looked back at my note sheet. So after a 6-year hiatus, so again, like Shim just said, 98, they canceled the tour. Pharrell put together a new Lollapalooza, included 30 cities from July to August of 2003, and it received marginal success, with many of the fans staying away, and most people thought it was because of the high ticket prices. Again, this was the tour where my good friend Brett Schenk was able to go backstage, supposed to interview Perry Farrell, and Perry Farrell said, "Who is that? From radio? Fuck them, we don't need them." And he stormed off. Little did I know
you did. Turns out you did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no shit. I just assumed he's pissed off because the low ticket sales there might. So the main acts that year, you had Jane's Addiction, Audio Slave. Now, here, listen to some of these. This isn't a terrible lineup. Jane's Addiction, Audio Slave, Incubus, Queens of the Stone Age, Outkast, and A Perfect Circle. I remember I wanted to, like, A Perfect Circle was the one band that I desperately wanted to see, and I wasn't able to make it. Obviously, Audio Slave, too, because I'd never seen Chris Cornell live. But I would have rather have seen Chris Cornell with Soundgarden over Audio Slave, which is really weird because, you know, I'm getting the best of Soundgarden and, well, not the best, but you're getting Soundgarden and Rage Against the Machine up there. With Audio Slave. The side stage that year, Steve-O from Jackass, who, by the way, kind of a dick.
Doing what? What did he do?
I think he like because he used to be a clown, like a carnival circus guy,
right?
Like
so
juggling
he didn't have a band,
and shit like that. And so I think he was just a performer, like the Freak Show, like that they had with shit. I'm forgetting the goddamn name, but like the Freak Show that they had.
Yeah. And then there was
Jim
Kings
Rose.
of Leon.
And 30 Seconds to Mars.
30. That would have been early on for 30 seconds.
Yeah, so because this was 03. And this would have been when Steve-O, Jackass was already big at that point, so he might have been some kind of a draw. But again, kind of a dick.
So for 2004, there was a Lollapalooza scheduled to tour with it consisting of 2 days in each city. Wow, so they really decided to double down. They had booked Morrissey. Mexicans love Morrissey, by the way.
Oh, they do. Oh, my God. Oh, my God, they do. Go, continue on, though, but they fucking do, man.
Why don't you put that in? Well, I guess you should say that one. You're the one with the Mexican wife. That doesn't.
Because it's even funnier when you read it.
Sonic Youth, PJ Harvey, the Pixies and the Flaming. That sounds like noise. Sonic Youth, PJ Harvey, the Pixies, and the Flaming Lips. That just sounds like noise. Like 3 hours of fucking noise. Anyway,
you don't like
it never happened though, thank God, as it was canceled due to weak ticket sales. Yeah, no one wants to pay that much to see Morrissey and a bunch of fucking noise.
I'm telling you, man, Cholos fucking love Morrissey. I think they referenced it in Ant-Man, I believe. I might get that wrong. So let me know in the comments below, especially if you're here on YouTube. If you're over on Spotify, Apple, or Google, come over to YouTube. Comment below, because I found that out when I first moved here to El Paso. I heard about it kind of on the radio station, and we would have people call up, and they're like, yeah, Cholos fucking love Morrissey. Like, love him, and it's fucking amazing. Awesome. Like, it's great. So by 2005, what's up?
I was going to say, by 2005, he's still going. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, Farrell, he'd partnered with some new companies to kind of resurrect Lollapalooza as a 2-day destination festival in Chicago's Grant Park. So the first iteration of this happened. So like we talked about, it went from being a touring festival to kind of like a destination festival, which ended up being Chicago's Grant Park. They had 60 acts on 5 stages, and it brought in over 65,000 attendees, despite the fact that the Sunday of the festival, it was 104 fucking degrees.
Oh, my God. Well, that's a good turnout then, at least.
Which is about, as we're recording this episode, about how hot it's been here in El Paso. Like, we're pushing, we're triple digits, baby.
Bloody hell. Since then, they have not only had the festival in Chicago, but also international versions from Brazil to Germany. I did not know that. The COVID-19 pandemic ended up canceling the 2020 shows. They ended up doing a live-streamed version of the show. So, Lollapalooza's gone international.
Yeah, they had, I want to say, the first years that it really went international, it might have been 2011 where they did one in Chile. And then 2020, when it got canceled, it was supposed to have Stockholm, Paris, Berlin, Brazil, and Argentina. All of those got canceled in 2020. Here in 2022, you have the one that takes place in Chicago, plus they have Argentina, Chile, and Brazil as well. That's
a bad run. So they kept trying to resurrect it for 20 years, and they had one good show, basically.
Well, no, it's been going on since 2005.
Oh,
yeah, there wasn't a break there.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
No.
From 2005, it's going on every year now.
Yeah, it's been consistently going as kind of the weekend destination thing, and they get some major acts.
Yeah, of course.
So it's continued to go on this year. Speaking of 2022, it's going on July 28th and through 28th through 31st. So Thursday going to be headlined by Metallica.
No way.
Going back to '96. I swear to God, I was looking at who is performing. I don't fucking know any of these acts, dude. I couldn't tell you what genre they are. Nothing. Friday, it's Dua Lipa and Machine Gun Kelly. Yep. Saturday is J. Cole. I assumed that was like. I thought that was Pants. Isn't that J. Cole Pants, or is that a?
I don't know that one. Obviously,
Cologne?
Green Day, but Doja Cat as well. That's good.
Yeah. So and then Sunday this year, it's Green Day, Doja Cat, and Jane's Addiction are your headliners.
They're bringing in the kids, mate. They're bringing in the kids. Got to stay the young and the youthful. The young and the youthful.
See that? No, look. Really quick sidebar here. So that's something that we're kind of struggling with right now in regards to Original Gamer Life of what games do we play, because we obviously want to target a younger demo while also keeping the people who are like old farts like me. I mean, look at the white in my beard there, for the love of God. Mm-hmm. That's not all age, by the way. Some of that has to do with being married. I'm just throwing that out there. At least that's what I told my wife. But that, like, and that's like when I'm looking at these at these acts, I was like, I don't have a fucking. There's probably some phenomenal acts in there. I would guarantee some of that stuff I would like. I've just never fucking heard of them.
Doesn't your kid listen to any of this stuff?
She listens to a lot of the stuff that we do. And I'm so grateful for that. But my kid, actually, a lot of the stuff that she listens to, it's all musicals.
That's awesome.
We went and saw the show Waitress a few weeks ago, and Hamilton, stuff like that. Which, by the way, Waitress, not acceptable for kids.
Found that out before you bring your kid in.
Well, no, so I guess with like Jersey Boys, at least it says when you purchase your tickets, not recommended for kids under 14 years old. I get my wife said it didn't do this for Waitress. So there's a scene where there's one main waitress that it follows, and then her two friends. And the way that they set the scene up is that on stage they have all three of them like in their own homes. Or in their own area. Like, they're not together. They're in separate locations, but they're all on stage together, and they're simulating sex with their significant other. Like, bouncing in their lap and stuff. And, my kid was mortified. So my wife's, like, covering up her eyes and stuff.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Don't take your kids to see it. It's a great show. If you're an adult, I fucking loved it. I thought it was a great show.
Take him to see the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, God. Yeah, there you go.
No, but the truth is, Dua Lipa. I always say Dua Lipa. Dua Lipa's good. Machine Gun Kelly and
Dua Lipa.
People hate on Machine Gun Kelly for whatever, but he's bringing back pop punk with songs.
Yeah.
And Youngblood is doing great songs, dude. If you haven't listened to Youngblood, like finally someone bringing back songs with some fucking rock and guitars and stuff. It's awesome. So there's finally some good stuff coming up. It's just that it's outside the active rock system. It's sort of like indie. It's weird. It's the way that things have forked into different parts of the music industry, and like, Youngblood's not necessarily on the radio all the time, but he's massive on social media, and he's got fucking hundreds of millions of streams on Spotify and YouTube, and he's great. Like, he's like a Bowie.
Yeah, and this is kind of the transition, I think, that we've been seeing with social media and with the internet, where we've kind of been able to see the genres of rock and roll as we saw, like, the rise and fall of grunge that we've been talking about on the podcast. We're eventually going to get to the rise and fall of nu metal because, really you go back to Korn, I think 94 would be kind of the beginning of nu metal, and that carried through until the early 2000s. And then after that, there was a lot of bands, and this is coming from a guy who worked in active rock radio, because in the 05 to 2015, it was a lot of the bands that got lumped in with nu metal but weren't quite nu metal, like Godsmack. Disturbed, bands like that continued on. They were the one. I look at this from a different point of view, I think, than a lot of other people, unless you were in active rock radio, because the way that I would look at it is, what are the bands that are supporting our station, essentially? Who is still creating new music that we know are going to be hits? There was always those kind of one-offs that you would hear, but then you'd probably never hear from them again. The ones that were always consistent, you always have Disturbed out there, Godsmack, who I can't wait to talk about them, because the way that they transformed and continued sounding like Godsmack, but not sounding like Godsmack. I thought it was fucking brilliant. And then you look at a band like Papa Roach. It's just a hit fucking machine, man. Like, they just keep cranking that stuff out. And so my perspective is different, because now that you're talking about somebody like Youngblood, who doesn't get necessarily like a rock radio airplay, it doesn't mean he's not rock. It doesn't mean the stuff that he's doing isn't good. It's just, I think that you're starting to see that generational gap of older fans aren't going to know what the fuck you're talking about, where the younger fans are going to know everything that you're talking about. And I'll let myself in with the older ones. Like, when I'm looking at this lineup for Lollapalooza 2022, I'm like, I don't fucking know these guys. But then that tells me, go check them out. Go pay attention. But it's so fucking many. Oh, it's so many acts. There's so many bands. Like, I don't have time to sit through 60 fucking bands. Well, that's a lot.
Listen to them while you're streaming.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's what I normally do when I'm prepping the podcast. I tend to listen to whatever band we're talking about. So Jane's Addiction, I was listening to Jane's Addiction, Green River, Mudhoney, whatever it is. When it came to Lollapalooza, one of the first bands that I put on a heavy rotation was Susie and the Banshees. that headliner for the very first one. I had never even heard of Susie. I mean, I may have, but it fell out of my brain at some point in my life.
Right.
And it was good. I enjoyed it. I thought it wasn't so bad. It also got me back into listening to some of the Butthole Surfers. Gotta love the Butthole Surfers. Pepper, great song. Love playing that one.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was just kind of a long ramble there about music and the state of music and all this other stuff, and the fact that I'm old. Again, check out the white in the beard.
But that's your marriage.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so on this date, this is where I've been looking forward to this part. So we've been talking about this for a couple of episodes now, and it has to do with Homerpalooza, which is the Simpsons episode where in the episode Homer, I believe it's the school bus crashes, and so it's out of commission. So Homer has to take the kids to school. He picks up other kids like Milhouse along the way, which, by the way, Milhouse might be the most underrated Simpsons character of all time. That might be a discussion we have to have at some point. And this is when Homer, I didn't even space. This is when Homer realizes that classic rock is no longer cool. As I'm talking about being on the older side of the spectrum here. Right. So to impress his kids, he ends up getting tickets to Lollapalooza. He buys a Rastafarian hat. He's quickly mocked by the Gen Xers out there, where like he thinks he's cool, and they're like, "Hey, narc! Hey, narc!" He kicks a cannon in frustration and ends up shooting one of Peter Frampton's inflatable pigs into his stomach. This lands him a job on the Freak Show, where he goes on tour taking cannonballs to the stomach. Now, this is where I mentioned put a pin in that one comment from Perry Farrell in the previous episode, where he was talking about alternative being people who are all about peace and science and that other stuff, and I mentioned peace specifically.
Yeah.
So for the research for this episode, Brent Forrester was the writer. He went to an actual Lollapalooza hoping that it would be fun. It was not for him. He said a lot of the things that happened in the episode were from his bad experience at the festival, including having a stranger walk up to him and say, "How's it going, narc?"
Fucking awesome.
Hence the kids when Homer buys a Rastafarian hat. Now, question for you. When I say narc to an Australian, what does it mean?
Yeah. Doesn't mean anything. I had to learn once I was in America what the fuck that means. Narc doesn't mean anything. We basically would watch the episode and just go, "Oh, it's someone who's not cool."
Okay.
I guess because they called him a narc and he's the cool guy saying it. So no.
So since you've been to the United States, what does narc mean to you?
It's a narcotics officer, right?
That's
basically a cop. A guy who's there to spoil all the fun and crack down on all the drugs and kill the party.
Exactly. In Mexican culture, it's the exact opposite. It's the bad guy. It's the narcos.
The narc. Oh, yeah. Okay. Copy that.
I learned this from my wife. She was telling me some story about how, she had been out with some friends and they ended up over at this person's house. And it was like a really nice house, but it was kind of not in the middle of nowhere, but there wasn't a lot of neighbors around. Like, it's the outskirts of El Paso, Texas. So it's a big, a big plot of land. And she was, the way she recounted the story to me was that she was concerned that he was a narc and there was going to be some illegal shit going down. And I was like, well, wait, if he was a narc, then that would be good because he's the guy, he's the cop, he's the officer. And she's like, no, what are you talking about? The narc is the bad guy.
How long have you been married? How does this keep happening to you? Shouldn't you know all of this by now?
No, this was like when we first started dating. She was telling me about this story. That's me telling you it's in the past. It was a long time ago. Like I think this was one of the first conversations we had. Come to think of it. That was a beautiful face right there, by the way. Yeah. Love that. So for anybody who's not watching video, you got to check that out with Shim. So that's another thing where I learned that, the way that I grew up in Mexican culture, completely different. Narcos. Yeah. Two completely different things.
Who would have thought that Mexican culture was different to American culture in any way?
And silly me for thinking they should be the same.
Right.
All right.
It makes sense since they did it. They did the whole show called Narcos,
right? Yeah. And that's how I was like, oh yeah, so that's why the episode's called that.
Oh, this is where I heard about half of these bands as well, because I was into the Simpsons way before I was into music. Keep going.
Okay, so during Homer's confrontation with the crowd at Hullabalooza, there's a brief shot of No Doubt standing behind him, the band No Doubt. So Eric Stefani, that's Gwen Stefani's brother, he was not only in the band, he was also working as an animator for The Simpsons at the time. He added them into the scene.
Really?
Apparently, yeah.
So they weren't actually, it wasn't written
I don't think so.
Wow,
from what I saw
that's
was that
so great.
Was that he was like, you know what? We've got this little brief scene behind. Let's add him in or add us in, and so he did.
And so he didn't ask anyone. He just was like, it's not in the script. He just was like, I'm going to put him in.
Again, I'm not.
No one would have said anything. I mean, it's literally you're at Lollapalooza.
Yeah.
No doubt's one of the biggest bands in the world. I didn't realize that he was one of the animators. So wait a minute. You're telling me that Eric Stefani, Gwen Stefani's brother, was not only in the band, he was also working as an animator in The Simpsons.
That's what I read.
And he drew himself in the band. He drew No Doubt into the scene at the Lollapalooza episode of The Simpsons back in the day.
Yeah.
And no one said anything.
I'm assuming they were just like, yeah, whatever. Like, because 96, like, No Doubt would have already been huge by 96.
Yeah. No one's going to... The thing is, you'd actually consider it a selling point. You'd be like, we're going to clip that bit and put it as the ads for this week's episode of The Simpsons. And so all the No Doubt fans can go, yeah. But Gwen Stefani didn't actually say anything. She wasn't in the episode. They drew her in
the background. Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine being Gwen Stefani or any of the band members and being like, oh my God, we're in The Simpsons. No one asked, but that's awesome. Like, imagine just popping up in The Simpsons one day. You know what I mean? Being like, holy shit, I'm in The Simpsons.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It says here that he studied animation at the California Institute of Arts in 1991. I guess was No Doubt way later than I'm remembering? Were they late 90s? For some reason, I thought they were 94, 95.
Nah, they were a little later. They were the same time as they were after Bush. I think they were after Bush because they opened for Bush.
Well, she was after Bush for a while.
Yeah. That's a good one.
I got to nail it. Yay! Gosh, yeah, what were those years? Where's the goddamn... Oh, yeah, Tragic Kingdom, I guess, came out in 95. And that was kind of the first... That was a real first big album.
That was the record.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to the Simpsons episode here, Homerpalooza. So the writers, they wanted to have several genres of music represented in the episode. So, of course, they had Sonic Youth and the Smashing Pumpkins. That's the alternative aspect. Cypress Hill, which was the rap aspect. And then Peter Frampton, which is classic rock. As I was doing this, I'm like, so wait a minute. So is that contradictory? Because early on in the episode, Homer finds out that classic rock isn't cool, but Peter Frampton is on Lollapalooza.
Yeah, it's very contradictory. And so is Bob Dylan, who was originally sought after to do the episode.
Oh. Not
sure why they went with Frampton, but Pearl Jam was also approached to be in the episode, but oh my God, no way. They declined to be part of a commercial endeavor.
Because they're so cool. You hear that, jammies? That's for you, jammies. Because Pearl Jam's above the Simpsons. I'm pretty sure they've probably been on the Simpsons.
Oh, dude, that's right.
Keep
going.
Hold on. So let me go back really quick because the Cypress Hill thing, I've got a very fond memory of that. And it's the one scene where the stage manager comes back and he's like, I've got the London Symphony Orchestra here. Did anybody hire the London Symphony Orchestra? Possibly Well High, Cypress Hill. I'm looking at you.
Looking in your direction.
And they were like, can you play Insane in the Brain? And they're like, we mostly play classical. And then they actually start playing to Insane in the Brain. And I remember the first morning show that I interned with, we used that as a bumper. And we were in stitches every time because it's so fucking funny. The way that it's written of Cypress Hill, possibly Well High. I'm looking at you. So anyway, go take the Courtney Love thing.
Courtney Love and Hole were also wanted for the episode, but they declined. In the DVD commentary, an unnamed group said that if Courtney Love was in the episode, they would not be. What? Say that you wrote that. Say that you go and read that.
So basically, there's an unnamed band, one of the bands that was in it, and they said if Courtney Love's in the episode, we're not going to be in it.
Oh, I wonder who that could have been. Smashing Pumpkins? No, couldn't have been. An Entertainment Weekly article later named Sonic Youth as that group. Really? Sonic Youth? Okay.
Well, that's according to
because they were in it. That's right. Article. They were in. I remember that now, dude. All of this stuff is coming back to me now. Because I was the kid that watched so much Simpsons that I knew every line of dialogue for the first 5 or 6 seasons.
Yeah, I spent right there with you.
Years watching. We would tape it, and we would tape it, and then push pause on the VCR when the ads would come up, and then we would know that the ad for a show that was coming up afterwards.
That's when you start recording again. So
that's when you start recording.
Like a bumper. Yeah.
So we would try to, and we made 15 tapes of all of the seasons. And all I did was just come home from school, not do any fucking homework, and watch The Simpsons and eat food for at least 2 or 3 years when I was in school. Yeah, and I knew every line. We had the luxury of syndication here. So by that time, it was you came home from school, and generally the shows that were on right after school, they were obviously targeted towards your age demographic, and that was The Simpsons. And it was usually at least 1 hour. Sometimes it was 2 hours. And you just sit and rewatch. It was the same. I would do that. The shows that I watched super heavily in syndication was always The Simpsons and Seinfeld. Like, those were the two big ones. Yeah. So, that was the 90s. But Simpsons and Seinfeld were the 90s.
Yeah, along with Lollapalooza.
Music. Yeah.
So the original airing of the episode, it finished 57th for that week, May 13th through the 19th of 1996, in all of the United States broadcasts. 57th. Right. It was viewed in approximately 7.5 million households. However, since then, it is considered one of the best Simpsons episodes ever. Like, there was a whole list of different publications and like YouTube videos and shit like that rank Simpsons episodes, and this one was consistently in top 15, top 10. I don't think I ever saw it as a top 1, but it was like a top 5, top 10 episode of all time. It's one of the ones that always sticks in my head.
Just out of curiosity, what was one of the episodes that got to number 1 for The Simpsons greatest episode? Like, how? I'm assuming it's from somewhere between season 2 and season 5.
It would have to be. You know what? Quite frankly, I'm not really sure, because when I saw that this one was on there, I didn't keep scrolling.
Because I would bet that The Great Escape is one of them. Do you remember the episode that was based off The Great Escape?
Was that the one where It's one where Maggie breaks out of the daycare, right?
Yep. They put Maggie into the daycare center, and they took so many pieces of classic movies, and like from Hitchcock and Spielberg, and they took so many. It's nothing but Easter eggs of classic movies over and over again. So well done, to the point where they literally gave Alfred Hitchcock a cameo. And I was like, this is. I didn't realize it at the time, but it was a piece of. They were so good. They were so good back in the day.
Well, so I found Variety here, and theirs doesn't have. It doesn't even in their top 25. It doesn't even have.
Well, what's number 1? What do they consider?
Homer at the Bat.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And again, it's one of the very early episodes. It's when they bring in all the Major League Baseball players, and
yep.
I'm not seeing that on their list at all. We have another one here from Time Magazine, and this is their top 10.
What was number 1?
Number 1.
What was number 1 on Time Magazine's best Simpsons episode? Who can say?
Marge versus the Monorail. That's a good one.
Yeah. Yep. Those ones are good.
Is there a chance the track could bend? Not on your life, my Hindu friend. Monorail. Which isn't like. Which is interesting.
My favorite thing. Mono means one, and rail means rail, and that sums up our 6-week course. Did everything. My one was always the one that I always quoted to people in school was, and we're back with more of people who look like things.
Oh God!
Always, I would do whenever I would be like, and we're back. Like if we were in a conversation and someone goes on a rabbit hole and they go, oh, anyway, so the bus timetable, and you go, and we're back with more of people who look like things. And they go, what the fuck? And there'd be one random guy every once in a while that was like, Simpsons, deep cut, episode 43.
Yeah, he would actually get it. There's a Game Rant list here. Their number 1 is Homer's Enemy. That's one with Frank Grimes, Grimy.
Oh, Grimy. What about Moe's Tavern? Flaming Moe.
Flaming
Moe. That episode was fantastic.
And we have just fallen down the rabbit hole of just listing off Simpsons episodes. This is
that's history of rock. We've got to have pop culture bits. We've got to do a deep dive on The Simpsons and on Seinfeld at some point. Yeah. Because it really is about history.
We did deep dive on Rockstar 101. Go check out Rockstar 101. That's the old podcast we used to do. And I stumbled into this on the same Game Rant list. The 22 short films about Springfield. Remember, that's the one that goes from scene to scene, and it's all. And you want to talk about movie references? That's the one where Milhouse ends up at the one dude's shop that's missing the arm, and they it's all parodying
Pulp Fiction. Yeah. I remember that now. That was when Pulp Fiction was the biggest thing in the world, and they were so okay. We're gonna keep going, but they were so good. We'll do a whole episode.
March versus the Monorail comes up. Entertainment Weekly has that as their number 1. Cape Fear has it as number 2. I think this is the same one. I think this is the same one that mentioned I had seen before, where Entertainment Weekly had Homerpalooza listed as one of their top episodes. Mr. Plow, that's another big one.
Mr. Plow.
That's my name. That name again is Mr. Plow.
Mr. Plow.
Sorry.
My favorite one was baby on board something.
Baby
board. Hey, this thing writes itself.
How I adore. Yeah, I'm not seeing it on any of these lists. It should be.
We should probably wrap it up now. So
yeah, we've become
buddy. Hey, all right. My son just walked in, which is my cue to wrap it up.
All right then, Mike. Is he going to say hi in the podcast?
No, I'm going to give him a cuddle. Give me.
So for anybody who's listening on Apple or Google, Shim has now left the screen so he can hug his child.
Okay, what's up?
He's trying to portray himself as a good father.
Okay, come here. All right, go ahead and tell him. Go ahead and tell him. Mommy printed out what? What happened?
Mommy printed out 3 Sonics.
Yep, 3 Sonics.
And then 1 Shadow.
And you're gonna color them in now. So you want to say hi to my friend Brandon?
Hey Max, what's up, buddy? Oh, he can't hear me.
I'll be outside soon, okay? Can you close the door for me on your way out? Thank you. Good work, man.
I was waiting for you to be like, shut the fucking door. Shut the fucking door on your way out, god damn it. All right, yeah, we do have to wrap up.
Yeah. And also, I've been busting a pee. You can see me doing the pee dance.
Oh,
when I start to sway a little bit more quickly.
Does this mean we're not going to get an encore? We got to get an encore.
No, we will. I'll just go pee and come back. So
I'll talk.
That being said, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Go ahead and hit like and subscribe on the notification bell. His name is Brandon. He's the DJ.
His name is Shim. He's the rock star. Class dismissed. Oh, his headphones are off. He's going to go pee.
See you in a minute in the encore.
And we're back for the encore. How's everybody doing out there? The name's Brandon Coates. You're listening to the History of Rock podcast, the podcast that I've done by myself and Shimon Moore, former lead singer of Sick Puppies, the original lead singer of Sick Puppies. And is Sick Puppies even a band anymore? I saw that Emma left to go. I think she joined Evanescence, actually. But yeah, so we were talking about The Simpsons. Apologize for the rambling there. If you guys like that, let us know. If you don't like it, let us know. We really don't care. Let me rephrase that. We care what you think. Like, we don't care if you're critical of us. Like, we would rather you give us a straight dirt there and let us know exactly what you think of us. If you would be so kind as well, if you're here tuning into this podcast, make sure you guys head on over to Original Gamer Life on YouTube. That's essentially the company that I'm working for right now. We're putting up a bunch of clips. You got gaming news, gaming clips. There's a fucking hilarious clip. This was done. I'm trying to think of when we're recording this and when this is going to air. I think it would be about a month ago. And it was us playing Phasmaphobia. And Shim doesn't quite know all the buttons yet. And I shut a gate on him knowing he can't open the door. And so he's essentially trapped inside with the ghost. He didn't take too kindly to it. So you guys can go check out that video. Shim does play. Again, this is a month in advance. So I'm not sure if the schedule is going to be the same where he and I are playing games on Thursday nights. Although it's technically, I guess, Friday morning for him. And this is what makes scheduling this stuff so goddamn difficult because the time change is just brutal. I mean, it's I'm recording this. It's 8:15 at night, and it is. It's just after noon there right now, right?
It just went to 12:15.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
I was explaining how eventually, like when this finally airs, it's going to be like a month from when we recorded it because I have my vacation coming up and stuff. And then I was talking about the time change and how that's just a bitch because we go kind of from 8-hour difference where technically you're way ahead, but the easier way to look at it is I'm 8 hours ahead of you. It's noon there. It's 8 p.m. here. And then that randomly changes to 6 hours like that during daylight saving. We might get rid of daylight saving here in the States, by the way.
Really? Is that for real?
I heard rumors that things are in the works where they could potentially get rid of it. We don't fucking need it anymore. Everybody says it was started for farmers. I believe it was actually started for World War II. But
well, we're about to enter World War III, so
yeah, we've been saying that for years, baby.
No, I only feel bad because when we start recording first thing in the morning, I'm still yawning. I'm still trying to fucking wake up, and I can be on, but every once in a while when you talk, and I'm bored out of my mind with the shit that you say, I just go on camera. It's not a good look.
Look, buddy, you can see me yawn when I'm talking, so that's nothing against you right there, because apparently I even bore myself.
Yes, it's not. This is where the gray comes from.
That's how the fuck we do it here, right, mate? I don't know. It was good talking Simpsons, though. We got to start planning some future episodes, though. Do we want to go straight into Woodstock?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay.
Because
and by the time this airs, like I believe, if I look at the schedule, I think. Let me check my calendar here, mate. I think this will be July 4th, Independence Day.
Oh, perfect.
So that's about a month away from when we're recording it, because today is June 6th. So we've got Jane's Addiction Part 1 dropped this morning. Jane's Addiction Part 2, Lollapalooza. Yeah, Lollapalooza will be on July 4th, actually. So at that point, we will probably have already had at least one episode of our special edition songwriting episodes.
Hopefully.
Should be about 20 minutes. I love that you're eating right now. That's great.
You never have that thing.
Are you joking?
You eat and one of your glands gets pinched. Like you're so hungry that your mouth actually goes, give me food. And it's like there's a little receptor here that kind of picks up and then it pinches sometimes if you're not ready.
No.
Just me.
Yeah. Oh, I was in the hospital last weekend. Did I tell you that?
Why? No.
It was apparently a very, very, very bad bout of gastritis. So much fun just being doubled over in pain for hours on end.
Gastritis, what does that mean? Like gas or like you had a gastrointestinal
it's basically like my stomach acid has completely eroded the interior of my stomach. So now it's just burning away the lining of my stomach. It's so much fun.
It's amazing how strong stomachs are. You know, the lining of your stomach, you can't actually cut it with a knife, and even scalpels, like you have to have a really razor-sharp scalpel. Like, it's so tough.
Well, and that's the one thing that the doctor told me. He was like, look, he's like, he kept aligning it to my diet, where in the back, we went at like 2 a.m. Like, I woke up in excruciating fucking pain that night, and I was like, fuck this. And I was like, I finally got to the point after like an hour of just misery. I told my wife, we got to go to the hospital. So we did. Yeah. And then the doctor was like, you eat spicy foods? And I was like kind of, like not as much as I used to, sure as shit. And I actually eat really fucking healthy. I think a lot of it's more stress. Or just anxiety, quite frankly, is really what it is. Not stress, because I'm not stressed out about anything. I got a vacation to Hawaii coming up. When this finally airs, we've already been to Hawaii. You'll see me with a nice fucking tan and everything. But so he was like, you know, because your stomach, it's really like if you were to stick your hand in your stomach, the acid would eat away all your skin. Like that's how brutal that stomach acid is. Yeah, and he goes, and what's happened right now, what's going on in your stomach is that lining and the mucus and everything that protects your stomach, it's fucking gone. So right now that acid is eating your stomach, and it's like awesome. So it's been nothing but like, oh, and you got to go to the bland diet, like eating bananas all the time, and the brat diet was bananas, rice. Oh, what are the other two? Damn it. I could have sworn one was bread.
Brat or brat?
Brat, B-R-A-T. Brat diet. Bananas, rice, applesauce, toast.
Wow.
I don't do that specifically, though. No, I eat more than that. I'm not a pussy.
How long you got to keep that up for?
I'm a pussy. What?
How long do you got to keep it up for?
I mean, it was really like, so essentially it was basically make sure that I'm taking omeprazole. That lowers the stomach acid. And then I'm taking like a probiotic. Apple cider vinegar helps because that helps balance your stomach out a little bit. I'm taking a ton of shit to kind of lower my anxiety because that fucking sucks. And then it's like 2 weeks. Hopefully everything will kind of balance itself back out. And then I can not necessarily, I can't go back to doing what I was doing, But I wasn't even doing anything all that fucking bad. Like it's not like I was putting hot sauce on everything. It's not I put salsa.
It probably
on
is this. It probably is the anxiety, man.
Because
your body receives anxiety the same as stress. So if you're constantly under stress,
and that's
then
but see, and
you're
that's
going to have those manifestations.
That's the one thing that I was talking to the doctor about, where because I was also having chest pains that night as well, which is just the telltale sign of fucking anxiety. And so when I was talking to him about that, I'd mentioned, I was like, because my anxiety's been really bad, but I felt like I have it under control. Like it's not as much in my head anymore. I'm not constantly worrying about things that are never going to fucking happen. And it wasn't as bad up here, but the doctor was like, it's probably because it's now passed to your stomach, and your stomach is what's physically manifesting with the anxiety, which is why you're dealing with this shit. And it fucking sucks. I don't like it. Mental health,
much
folks.
better.
Mental health.
Better that you can't sleep and your brain keeps you up all night thinking about the worst outcome. But at least you can eat hot dogs and fucking wings
with hot sauce. Yeah,
with hot sauce. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so that was fun. How did we get on that?
Sorry,
you're talking about the pinch in your neck.
Yeah. It happened again. Yeah.
Oh, I took a rabbit hole down that one. Yeah. So anybody, if you guys want to help, here you go. Check out this plug. Are you ready? If you guys would like to help me with my anxiety and help lower my anxiety, make sure you guys go to vivalamocha.com and purchase our merchandise.
There you go.
We have stickers.
All money goes towards all the money goes towards
anxiety
Brandon's
medication for Brandon.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It's actually just going to go towards more stuff, because the things that Shim and I have talked about. So I have this big thick stack of stickers right here. I'm hoping that these are gone in a month. I'm going to hand them off to some friends and stuff when we go to Hawaii, because I'm going to meet my mom and my sister there. And then I'll hopefully have the T-shirts and stuff that we can ship off to them back to Portland, because then we have some other T-shirts in mind. I had some other notes. I'm not going to go flip through my notebook now, but there were some other notes. Like one was like, "Where's your flannel?" or something like that, when we were talking about the early stages of grunge and how that was a total marketing thing, was the flannel thing. Shit. What were the other ones? We wanted to do a shave and a haircut with Judge Doom.
You talking about a T-shirt?
Yeah, we're also gonna do a song.
Yeah.
I still think that one needs to be to Jeremy.
That's a good idea.
Shave and a haircut today. Or no, it'd be 2 bits, not today.
I thought it was shave and a haircut or 2.
No, it's a shave and a haircut, 2 bits.
2 bits. Okay.
But then you have to
then at the end we have to say, "Go fuck your mother, asshole."
Yeah. Chinga tu madre. What was it? Chinga tu madre. Oh. Cabron. There's people right now that speak Spanish. They're like, "Dude, you're cursing at all of us." Like I told you, when I played that for my wife at that one party, she was like, mute it. Mute, like when you get to you're saying "Chinga tu madre, cabron," she's like, mute that, because we don't need that playing at a party, like out loud for people.
Right.
So, because to me,
I love that.
Because you know that, like, if you say that on the radio, like, there was nothing wrong with that. If I were to say, "Go fuck your mom, asshole," that's a problem. But if it's in Spanish, perfectly fucking fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is a really long encore. Yeah. Damn, dude, this episode's gonna be almost an hour.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
That's Lollapalooza for you. Holy shit.
Yeah. That's all right. All right, I should probably.
You can't win them all, guys. You can't win them all. Not every encore is going to be as good as the last.
It's
just not going to happen.
It was the first one with Lollapalooza. It really picked up. I enjoyed it. It really picked up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, we should probably wrap this, though, buddy. All right, so say goodbye to the encore.
We should probably cut it a little bit before when we're wrapping it up. We should just be like, just go back to where it starts to get boring and then cut it.
No, we leave the whole thing in.
No, that's what she said. See?
No. All right. Say goodbye.
But this is what we actually. This is half like what we talk about. Like if you and I are off camera, like when we're doing Rockstar 101, when we're doing the podcast, we're up. When we talk normally, it's very chill, and this is about halfway.
Yeah. But I don't think it's halfway. I think it's even down even more, because it's later here and I'm getting tired. Like I can feel it. Like, you know how in the beginning you were like, I'm yawning. It's not because you were necessarily like, it's because you woke up. It's still early in the morning there. Where for me, it's like
no one cares that it's like 8 o'clock in the morning for me, and like just do the podcast. Shut up.
I used to do a show at 5 a.m. Don't tell me about 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Aren't you happier? You must be so much happier now in your life. Yeah.
Oh man.
That's why I'm surprised that you have anxiety. Like, what the fuck do you have to be anxious about now?
It's okay. So
your life is awesome.
Well, see, that's the thing is that it's not necessarily like when I have been hospitalized for it and stuff. It's not an anxiety attack. It's a panic attack because I'm not anxious about anything. It's just the way my brain is wired. And unfortunately, it's just there's not anything in particular that's causing it. It's not like, oh my God, what about this? Oh my God, what about that? It's just it's the way that my brain and body are wired together. And it's something that I've fucking dealt with my entire adult life. It's why I try to meditate as much as I do, because it's the one thing that I found that can really balance it without being addicted, or not addicted, but even just on medication.
When do you smoke weed? I've heard weed can help with that.
It can cause more anxiety.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah. Like I've tried, like, so here in Texas, we have Delta 8. Which is essentially like CBD is legal here, but marijuana with THC is not. So you can get a CBD product that does help with anxiety, just straight up CBD. But there's Delta 8, which is a modified strain that has the effects of THC. And I bought that, and sometimes it works, but there's other times where I'm like, oh my God.
Like, what I can't imagine greening out when you're already suffering from anxiety. That would be the worst. I can't smoke weed because I just get so anxious and paranoid. I'm not an anxious guy most of the time. If something's wrong, or if there is something like in the future that's like, damn, if that happens, it really is going to be a problem, then I'll start to get anxious. But most of the time now, especially since I stopped, once I wasn't in, I used to get anxious a lot with the band. Now, not so much. But I've restructured my life. If I smoke weed, everything's a problem. Everything's a problem.
Yeah, see, I don't like that's nothing I think I really need to be adding to my issues right now, because the other thing too is a lot of it loops back to depression. That's another fucking issue that I've had, but you got to deal with it. It's all fucking tied together. Like those days where like I'm not getting the fuck up, I'm not going to do anything. You just it's depression, or you don't find joy in the things that you used to find fucking joy in and shit like that. Yeah, and so it's just it's a vicious fucking spiral, mate. I don't know how the fuck you deal with it there, but that's the way that I always described it. I think I described this in one of my podcasts one time, is that the way that I described depression is that you see a giant boulder sitting in front of you. And as you see it, you're thinking to yourself, there's no fucking way I can push this thing. Like, I need to move this giant fucking boulder out of the way so I can get my day going, and it's too goddamn big. There's not a chance in hell that I can do it. When in reality, if you were to take a step out and look at that from the side, that boulder's actually on a ledge, and all you got to do is nudge it, and then that boulder's out of the way. That's the way that I look at depression, is that if you, and now that's for me personally, I'm not a doctor, I can't say what it's like for anybody else, but if you're able to at least get that nudge, that, pun intended, gets the ball rolling so that you can start to, sort of move out of it. Now, granted, there's people out there suffering with way worse shit than me, so don't take my advice. All right, we got deep on this encore.
Yeah, it happens. All right, let's wrap it up.
All right. Yeah, we're 1 hour exactly now. So this will be a special edition. Oh, and hey, for anybody tuning in, happy Independence Day here in the United States.
Recording stopped.
Shim didn't want to hear it. That's why we stopped it right in the middle.
I was just like, we've passed the point of no return.
I was fucking done with it, then, mate.
Yeah. Recording stopped.
Oh, my wife's working.
It doesn't do that on my other Zoom meetings. It only does that for you. It just wants to let you know when I'm paying attention and when I've stopped caring.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know what? Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Recording stopped. All right, man. Yeah. All right, so I'll be in touch later this week, maybe just to chime in if we can. If not the end of the world. Although we could probably talk next week while I'm in Hawaii, because I'll be closer to your time zone.
Yeah, but you'll also be on holiday, so maybe you should just enjoy the time with your wife and kid.
Well, we can chat for 20 fucking minutes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm down. I'm just saying.
Shit, even at that point, I think that it would be like my mom and sister. They'd probably want to say hi to you. I don't think you've ever actually spoken with them, have you?
Nope.
Never you could sing "White Balloons" for my sister live.
That's right.
Remember, that was one of the first things. Like the day I met you, I was like, "Hey, White Balloons" was a big fucking song for my family, and Jim played it.
Yeah. I was listening to Tripolar yesterday for the first time in about a year and a half. Well, that's a good record. Like, I never listened to my stuff.
It's a good fucking record.
I'm like, yeah, like the whole record, like Dressed Up as Life was good. Tripolar was really good, and Connect was half good. But I'm like, but Tripolar was good. Listen to it. Like, I understand why. I literally was listening to it going, oh, that's another good song. Oh, I understand why people made a big deal about this for a minute. It's a good little, it's a good record.
No, I mean, you look at like, God, that had White Balloons. It had Odd One, Going Down.
It had all the main
songs. Yeah, look at this. Yeah, it went from War to I Hate You to Riptide to You're Going Down, Odd One, So What I Lied. So What I Lied. You gonna sing it for me? Survive. Should have known better. Maybe. God, I still remember hearing Maybe when I was in Walmart. Don't Walk Away, Master of the Universe, In It for Life, and then of course White Balloons. That was the big one.
Yeah, that's a good record. It's good songs.
Good songs, Mike. And then Polar Opposite too. Look at that.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, let me ask you a question.
We had the run.
Let me ask you a question.
We have to do the run. Yeah.
What happened? What happened?
Fuck off. I knew it. I knew it was
coming. What happened? What happened to you, man? What happened?
I'll tell you what happened. You want to know what happened? I'll tell you what happened. 100 bad guys with swords.
So for anybody who doesn't know, like this is how we'll wrap up the encore. Is that so? Anybody who doesn't know exactly what Shim is talking about right there is that when Shim first started playing video games with us, we played Halo, and you obviously have the energy sword in Halo, and I think it was my buddy Frank was the first one that really did it, where they were like, oh, they've got the sword. And Frank immediately went to Aladdin of 100 bad guys with swords. And then it just it was an earworm. And it just stuck in everybody's head. And it especially got stuck in Shim's head as well. So.
Yeah. Love you guys.
All right. Say goodbye, everybody.
Love you, brother. I'll talk. Goodbye, everybody.